let's dive into a story that kind of flips the script on one of history's greatest minds. I mean, what if the man we all celebrate as this universal genius was actually holding the world back? Okay, so picture this. It's November 1499, we're in Milan, and the city is just teetering on the edge. The French army is only 12 miles away. You can just feel the fear in the air, right? The whole city is bracing for impact. And while all that's happening outside, inside the huge Castello Sforzesco, it's a whole different kind of chaos. The Duke's courtiers, they're not so composed anymore. They're basically a frantic mob, scrambling, stuffing gold into their bags, fighting over which horse is gonna get them out of there the fastest. But in the middle of all this panic, one guy isn't running. He's just still. He's standing in a courtyard and he's just staring at this massive sculpture of a horse. It's huge, 24 feet tall, and it's just made of clay. And that man, totally lost in thought while his entire world is falling apart, well, that's Leonardo da Vinci. And that one moment, that quiet image, it brings up this really uncomfortable question that's at the heart of what we're talking about today. What if Leonardo's genius wasn't a gift to humanity? What if it was actually a cost? So let's talk about this horse, this magnificent, doomed horse. What's the story here, and what does its fate really tell us about the guy who made it? I mean, this wasn't just some little side project. We're talking about a 17-year obsession. 17 years. This thing was so ambitious that his rival, Michelangelo, openly mocked him for it, basically saying, "You'll never finish that." And you know what? Michelangelo was right. In just a couple of weeks, those French soldiers are going to march in and use this incredible clay monument for crossbow practice. Just reduce it to a pile of mud. And look, it's easy to point the finger at the French soldiers, right? But the hard truth, they were just finishing a job that time. And Leonardo's own distractible, restless mind had already started. You see, the bronze that was supposed to make this horse permanent, it had been melted down to make cannons years before. So to really get the scale of what was lost here, and I'm not just talking about the horse, I mean across his whole life, we first have to wrap our heads around just how big his genius actually was. It's almost unbelievable. Think about it like this. Florence in the 1460s was basically the Silicon Valley of its day. Seriously, you had the Medici family. They were like the venture capitalists of the Renaissance, just pouring money into artists and thinkers. It was this supercharged, competitive place where raw talent was the ultimate currency. And here's the thing about Leonardo. He wasn't born into any of that. Not at all. He shows up in Florence when he's just 14, the illegitimate son of a mid-level lawyer and a peasant woman. Legally speaking at that time, he was a complete nobody. So how good was this nobody? Well, his talent was so off the charts that his own teacher, we're talking Andrea del Verrocchio, the best painter in Florence, reportedly saw what his young apprentice could do, put down his brushes, and never painted again. That's not just talent, folks. That's a force of nature. But here's the catch. That same incredible mind had a huge problem. It was this insatiable curiosity that just couldn't be pinned down. It refused to stick to any one thing. And this wasn't something that just happened later in his life. Nope. Right from the beginning, Leonardo had this habit of starting absolute masterpieces and then just walking away, leaving them unfinished. That horse, it wasn't an exception. It was the rule. It was part of a lifelong pattern. If you want a real window into his mind, you have to look at his resume to the Duke of Milan. It's one of the most amazing job applications in history. He lists 10 things he's good at. He starts with military engineer, canal builder, weapons designer, and then way down at the bottom, almost as an afterthought, he throws in, "Oh yeah, and by the way, I can also paint." And you want to see the beautiful chaos that was his brain in action? Check out one of his to-do lists. It's just wild. Describe the tongue of a woodpecker. Figure out why the sky is blue. Get a math guy to show me how to square a triangle. Look at a goose's foot. This wasn't someone building knowledge brick by brick. For him, every single answer just blew open 3 more doors of questions. And this right here is where the story goes from being a personal tragedy to, honestly, a global one. Because it wasn't just about the art he didn't finish. It was about the incredible scientific discoveries he did complete, and then just hid. He kept them all to himself. Get this number in your head. 7,000. That's how many pages of his notebooks we still have today. And the really crazy part? Experts think that's maybe only a third of what he actually wrote. Just imagine, a massive library of genius completely locked away. So what happened to all this incredible knowledge? Pretty much nothing. He guarded it like a dragon. He wrote everything in that famous mirror script. Now, it wasn't some secret code. He was left-handed, so it was just easier for him not to smudge the ink. But the effect was the same. It created a wall between his mind and, well, everyone else. So let's get down to it. What was the actual cost of all this secrecy? How much progress did we as a species lose out on because Leonardo kept his discoveries in a notebook instead of sharing them? Okay, this is where it gets really staggering. He figured out the heart was a pump over 100 years before official science did. He designed a working parachute 300 years before one was actually built and used. The answers to huge questions were just sitting there, written down in his notebooks, while the rest of the world was still fumbling in the dark. It's the ultimate what if, right? I mean, just try to imagine it. What if he had published his work? The printing press was a thing by then. What if all those ideas got out? The world we're living in right now could be completely, radically different. So where does all this leave us? You know, we love this romantic idea of the lone genius, working away in secret. But we almost never stop to think about the collateral damage. What's the cost of a mind that brilliant working completely alone? He had thousands of pages of stuff that could have completely changed medicine, engineering, you name it. But because he kept it all to himself, he basically forced everyone who came after him to reinvent the wheel. And in the end, it really comes down to a simple, brutal truth. Knowledge that isn't shared might as well not exist at all. Not for the world anyway. So the next time you hear the name Leonardo da Vinci, maybe think about this paradox. We celebrate this limitless, untamable mind. And we should, but we also have to ask, who pays the bill for a mind like that? Who pays the price for genius that isn't shared? Was it the patrons he disappointed? The scientists who spent centuries rediscovering what he already knew? Or maybe it's all of us, still living in the world that is, instead of the one that could have been.